Hello again everyone, and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's video, we're going to check out Netdata AI and how it helps make Netdata more useful than it was before. And Netdata is one of my favorite technologies. It's a powerful infrastructure monitoring solution, and what it does is keep an eye on all of the important things, and best yet, it alerts you whenever it encounters a problem. So it really does help you stay on top of things. And if you haven't checked out Netdata yet, its zero-touch mentality makes installation a breeze, and I've also produced a full Getting Started course here on YouTube that you could check out if you're interested in learning more about it. Anyway, this time around I felt it was time to highlight some of the AI features that have recently landed in Netdata. Now I know the term AI is thrown around quite a bit these days within the industry, and opinions of it within my audience range from disinterest to genuine excitement. But when it comes to Netdata's AI, artificial intelligence is implemented in a way that complements and expands its existing feature set while focusing on saving you time and making you more efficient as a sysadmin. In fact, it'll even tell you a dad joke every now and then to keep it more entertaining, and I think that's really cool. It almost reminds me of a Linux distribution that I reviewed some time ago. But anyway, AI within Netdata is actually useful, and in this video, you're going to see it in action. As far as what AI within Netdata could do for you, you could use it to do things like access real-time metrics, summarize logs, correlate issues across multiple sources, help diagnose issues that you might be experiencing, and a lot more. And also, Netdata AI is always there when you need it, but otherwise it stays hidden. That way, you don't have to worry about it forcing a workflow change, but the thing is, as you're going to see in this video, these new AI features are very helpful, so I think you're definitely going to want to check these out. And best of all, AI within Netdata wasn't added to check a box or follow some sort of white paper, it's actually useful. Since Netdata provides you with all kinds of information regarding your infrastructure, it would be great if you had some sort of assistance to help you make sense of things. And that's exactly what Netdata AI does. You could use it to summarize issues regarding your critical servers, generate reports you could then send to managers and stakeholders, and that's just the beginning. And to show it off, you're going to see all kinds of AI-related shenanigans in this video, and to make it more fun, what I'm going to do is use these features against my actual infrastructure. So that way, you'll see real-world examples in this video. I'll start off by giving you some general advice and best practices when it comes to using AI within system administration, and then, after that, I'll get into the examples. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get started, I need to give you a quick disclaimer. Netdata is sponsoring today's video, but as always, all of the thoughts and opinions in this video are going to be my own, just like any other video on the channel. If you're at all curious about Learn Linux TV's policies when it comes to sponsorship, then I'll leave a URL on the screen right now that you could visit to learn more about it. But the basic idea is that I exercise full creative freedom whether a video is sponsored or not. Also, I only provide tutorials for solutions that I actually recommend, and I've been using Netdata within my infrastructure for quite some time now. So working with them to produce a tutorial on something that I already use on a regular basis was a no-brainer. And with that out of the way, it's time to get started. What I'm going to do in the next section is go over some best practices when it comes to using AI within system administration, and then from there, we'll get into the examples. So, let's dive in. First, I think the most important thing to mention is that AI is not infallible. Although the entire industry seems to be crazy about AI nowadays, it's still a new technology. But even with AI still being in its infancy, you can get legitimate value from it right now. But it's also important that you do your due diligence and apply your critical thinking skills at the same time. For example, if you use AI to generate a report, you wouldn't want to provide that report to stakeholders until you've had a chance to look through it first. More importantly, when it comes to your production environments, you'll want to verify any recommendations you're given before you actually implement them. As I discussed in a recent video regarding artificial intelligence within system administration, AI can be incredibly helpful, but sometimes it can be wrong. For that reason, AI represents a great starting point, but it still requires a human with critical thinking skills to verify everything. It could definitely save you a lot of time, but it's not at a state currently where you can rely on it completely. Also, another important aspect of AI to consider is privacy and security concerns. The thing is, all data that's accessed by AI is transmitted to external providers, So you'll need to use it responsibly whenever it's within reach of confidential information. For example, as you utilize these kinds of features, you'll want to make sure that personally identifiable information isn't transmitted anywhere. And when it comes to compliance with regulations such as HIPAA or even GDPR, this is even more important. When it all comes down to it, just use your best judgment. There's nothing wrong with using AI to do things like summarize system resource health and identify latencies, but you shouldn't use it against confidential information such as patient records or anything that has personally identifiable information stored within it. And the thing is, none of this has anything to do with Netdata. These are important considerations regardless of which AI technologies you happen to be using. For additional guidelines and considerations regarding using AI safely, Netdata has some really good information on their website, and I'll provide a link to a helpful article down in the description. I highly recommend that you check it out. Anyway, with that disclaimer out of the way, it's time to check out some of the ways Netdata's AI can help you out and enhance your workflow. So, let's take a look. First, let's see some examples of how Netdata can help you when it comes to summarizing information regarding your infrastructure. And given the large number of metrics that Netdata is able to report on, this is quite possibly one of the best reasons to consider using its AI features. Of course, you can always create dashboards and war rooms manually within Netdata to categorize metrics and graphs, but if you forget to add a graph or metric, you might be missing out on some important information. When it comes to Netdata AI, you can not only ask it to summarize information across your servers, it's also able to quickly determine how events are related to one another, making troubleshooting a breeze. And to see this in action, what I'll do is click on the AI Insights button within Netdata. We see that button right here. Once there, you could click on New Investigation and start chatting with a built-in agent to provide some details as far as what you're looking for. In my case, what I'll do is ask it to provide an overview of my entire infrastructure. That way, if there's anything that I need to know about or pay attention to, it'll show up in the report. So I'll press Enter, and what it'll do is begin generating the report. It'll take a few minutes for it to finish, and once it's done, it'll send me an email to let me know that the report is ready. In my case, the report is already done generating, and right here we see the report. So what I'll do is click on it, and we'll check it out. And how cool is this? What I have right here is a summary of all the key findings when it comes to my infrastructure. And this is going to include any system that I've installed Netdata on that's also reporting here to Netdata Cloud. In my case, all of my servers are reporting to Netdata Cloud, so this should give me an overview of literally everything that I need to pay attention to. And here at the top of the report, we see some key findings. For example, it's telling me that CPU utilization has been extremely low across all of my nodes. When it comes to memory, my TrueNAS server, as you can see here in the second bullet point, has the highest allocation of memory. And that makes sense because my TrueNAS server gets the most usage out of anything else in my infrastructure. The thing is, as I'm editing videos or even recording videos, that information is being written to my TrueNAS server, so as you can see, it does get a lot of usage. We can also see in my third bullet point that there's high disk I/O when it comes to my NAS server, and it's even higher than normal because I have a few backup jobs and some other things running for maintenance purposes, and that's reflected here where it shows 35% average utilization. And that's not really a big deal by any means, but since this is the highest utilization of anything within my network, well, of course, it's going to flag in the report. When it comes to network utilization, we see high throughput on my TrueNAS as well, 115 megabits at its peak. And for me, that also makes sense. My TrueNAS server is doing cloud backups and all kinds of different things. I even have SyncThing running on it. So all of my computers are literally doing something with TrueNAS. So in this case, that's expected. Now what's not expected is the second to last bullet point where it's telling me that there might be some ECC memory alerts on the TrueNAS server. And it's not at a point where it requires me to change my memory modules or anything, but I do need to keep an eye on that as it shows right here. Now, when it comes to correctable ECC memory errors, a few of those every now and then isn't a big deal, but if this keeps happening, I might need to take action. For example, perhaps I'll use memtest86 on the server just to make sure that none of the memory modules have any physical issues. As we scroll through the report, we see some additional information. For example, we have a graph right here, which is giving me CPU utilization information. And as I move my mouse cursor around within the graph, we see more specific information. So we see my TrueNAS server is there at the top. The server that serves this website, which is the second one on the list, has the second highest utilization, followed by the other servers, as you see right here. But it's really cool that I see a report right here that gives me some information ordered by CPU usage in case I needed more information. And I'm not going to go over everything inside this report, but as you can see, it's given me a lot of information. So if I wanted to know what I should focus my troubleshooting on, well, this is a great way to find out. I'm going to get a list of all the key findings within the report, as well as some information about anomalies, if any exist. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of information here inside this report. I even get a list of recommendations on what Netdata thinks I should do to fix up my infrastructure. We also see that VPS memory utilization is quite high at 85 to 90%. So what that means is I might need to upgrade my VPS instances, basically servers that I have running on Linode or DigitalOcean, and increase available memory. And to help me out, it's even telling me which servers in particular I should be paying attention to when I go to upgrade them. On the bottom, it's telling me that overall, my infrastructure is rated as excellent, although there are still a few things that I need to check into. If I wanted to download the report, all I have to do is go up here and click the download button. So click on that. As you can see right here, it generated a really nice looking PDF. This looks really good. And of course, what I could do is use this to plan what type of work I need to do within my infrastructure, or if I need to provide a report to stakeholders, then this will serve that purpose as well. Also, if you're experiencing an issue in particular, consider asking Netdata's AI what's wrong with your infrastructure. If you have any actionable issues or alerts, it'll help you understand what you need to do to fix everything up, and how any issues you're experiencing might impact other servers. There's all kinds of examples where an issue on one server directly impacts another, so having a report like this can make it simple to understand the scope of your problem a lot more. My recommendation is to play around with this and have some fun with it, and ask it about some random things that you're curious about. Now for another example, what I'll do is click New Investigation, and let's see what else I could find out. So for example, what I'll do is ask Netdata AI to describe the overall uptime of my infrastructure. So let's see what it comes back with. And now the report is going to be generated, and it'll be done in just a few minutes. And it looks like the report is finished. So what I'll do is click right here to view it. And check this out. It's telling me that my infrastructure status is stable. It's going as far as to tell me that my infrastructure has excellent uptime, and there's only a 2% anomaly rate, which is really cool. And the anomaly rate is going to be on my TrueNAS server, which I mentioned earlier. Again, I have some things that I need to check out on that server, especially the memory. So there are some warnings regarding that server, but other than that, it looks like my infrastructure is pretty healthy. As you can see, it's going to give me additional information. It's going to summarize any information that Netdata was able to find that I need to pay attention to. And again, we get some key recommendations and action items. And this makes it very easy for any sysadmin to know exactly what they should be paying attention to. Anyway, my recommendation is to play around with this and have some fun with it. And also ask it about any random thing that you might be curious about. For a bit of inspiration, maybe ask Netdata AI whether or not there's been any performance trends over the past few weeks, or anything else that you might be curious about. Next, it's great for situations in which you're looking at an alert and you're not completely sure what it means or how it impacts you. On the Alerts tab, which you probably already know from my complete Netdata course, you could go there to get a list of any alerts that apply to your infrastructure. All the alerts across all of your servers are going to be collected right here, and what you could do is ask Netdata AI to help you troubleshoot any alert that shows up on this list. If you want to do that, all you have to do is find the alert that you want to get some assistance with troubleshooting, and then click the button to the right of the alert. It's this one right here. So what I'll do is click on it, and let's see what happens. And here it's telling me that the report is being generated, and when it's done, I'll receive an email. Now in my case, I was already aware of the fact that there's memory errors when it comes to my TrueNAS server, so these alerts are not new to me, but if they were alerts that I didn't already know about, this would be especially helpful. But anyway, now that the report has been generated, what I could do is go back to the AI Insights button right here, or I could simply check my email. And then under Alert Investigation, we see that I have an unread report, so I'll click on that. And in this case, it's going to give me additional information when it comes to the ECC errors that I mentioned earlier. And this is great because in the other report, it was telling me that I had these issues, but in this case, I'm diving even deeper when it comes to this particular problem. One thing that's really cool to note is that it's showing that this particular error occurred on September 17th, and now 8 days later, there hasn't been any additional errors. That's really good news. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm completely clear of having to replace a memory module. If I had even more errors, then the problem would be a lot worse. But 8 days ago, having a single issue isn't really the biggest problem. But again, according to the report, I will need to keep an eye on this, and I agree. It's definitely a great idea to pay attention to memory issues, especially considering that it might result in data corruption. And what's really cool about this is that Netdata is always troubleshooting alerts automatically. Whenever an anomaly is detected, Netdata will troubleshoot it in the background and is then ready to provide you with helpful details regarding your alerts anytime you want the information. This is yet another example of Netdata being hands-off by default, providing you with important information as soon as you need it. It's worth noting that at some point in the future, Netdata's AI will expand to other places around the UI, so keep a lookout for that same icon popping up in more places. If you see it, you'll be able to trigger Netdata AI to help you summarize exactly what you're looking at. Third, another useful feature is the ability to generate an anomaly report. As you may remember from my recent Netdata course, an anomaly is any metric that changes significantly from a typical baseline. Anomalies include situations such as disk usage growing suddenly, a spike in web traffic, or a database engine taking longer to respond than it normally does. Netdata already alerts you to things like these, but now you can have it generate a report that'll give you a summary of the big picture, increasing your visibility. To generate an anomaly report, all you have to do is click on the Anomalies tab, and right here we have a button to generate the report. It's literally that easy. And once you click on it, what it'll do is ask you for some information regarding what exactly you're looking for. It'll ask you to define a time frame, the type of resources that you're interested in, and which particular nodes you're curious about. So what I'll do is click right here and choose the time frame. So what I'll do is choose the last 7 days. In here, I'll select the individual things that I'm curious about. So for example, I'm curious about network traffic, so I'll select that. You can select as many of these as you want. You could also select all if you want a big picture of everything. Then what you'll do is select the node. Here I have a list of the servers that are reporting to Netdata. So what I'll do is just click on my Raspberry Pi instance right here. Maybe I'm just curious about that one. Or what I could also do is click Select All if I want to report on everything. Anyway, what I'll do is generate the report, and let's see what happens. And it looks like the report is finished. So what I'll do is click right here to view it, and let's see what happens. And here's telling me that my Raspberry Pi instance is healthy. So this is going to be a very boring report because there's no issues with this particular node to pay attention to. But if there were, I would see some information regarding anything I need to pay attention to within this report. Now what I'll do is go back to the Anomalies tab, and I'm going to generate another report this time. But this time, what I'm going to do is include pretty much everything. I'll choose 7 days again. I'm going to select all the metrics this time. And I'm also going to choose each of my nodes. So this is definitely going to be a bigger report. Before I actually generate this report though, I want to call your attention to the Schedule button. As the name would imply, this allows me to schedule a report for later. That's definitely a very useful feature, and in fact it just landed as of recording time. This is brand new. It's really cool. So if you want to schedule a report for another time, you could definitely do that. But what I'll do is generate the report right now. I definitely want to show it to you, so I'll click the button and let's see what happens. And it looks like it's done. So let's view it and see what it came back with. And as you can see, it's giving me some very helpful information regarding my nodes. Now, of course, there's not going to be much for me to troubleshoot because the only issue that I'm running into is the memory issue that I mentioned earlier. But this is really cool because it's giving me all the information that I might need to know about my infrastructure during the time frame that I selected. It's also really cool that it's able to deduce backup operations and development activity. For example, both of my Raspberry Pis listed right here are primarily used for development, and Netdata understood that based on my usage. That's really cool. We also see the anomaly rate over the past 7 days, the time frame from the report. We also see correlating information as well, and this is really cool because it's going to demonstrate how issues on one server might be impacting another. And that's really helpful for troubleshooting because the thing is, it's rarely the case that any issue in your infrastructure is only going to impact one thing. Usually, an issue on a server is going to impact multiple things. And sometimes when we troubleshoot as sysadmins, it could take us a lot of time to figure out how one issue is related to another. But here we have correlating information, and this is going to shed some light on that right away. Speaking of troubleshooting, let's take a look at how Netdata AI can help us with that. As you view various tabs across Netdata's UI, you'll see a troubleshooting button at the top. So this is one of the easiest features to find. In fact, you'll find this button on literally every tab. So we see it right here. And as I go through the various tabs here, you'll see that that button is present on each and every one of them. So that means you could troubleshoot from any tab. So what I'll do is click on the troubleshoot button right here. And what that allows me to do is start a new investigation. And the coolest part about this is that anytime you click the troubleshoot button, you'll see information specific to whatever it was you were looking at the time. For example, if you're on the alerts tab and you click the troubleshoot button, you'll activate troubleshooting specific to alerts. If you're on the metrics tab and click on it, the context of the report will change to metrics. You'll notice that anytime you click on this, the context of the top changes to whatever it was you were doing. And that also means any criteria that you might have selected in the UI on a particular tab is going to be reflected right here. So when I say the troubleshooting button will help you troubleshoot whatever it was you are currently looking at, I really meant it. And that also means if you select any other criteria on a particular tab, maybe you've customized the time frame, selected some nodes or something like that. In that case, the information at the top will automatically update to whatever you've selected on the tab you are viewing. This means that anytime you're looking at just about anything, no matter how specific it might be, the troubleshooting report will match your current scope. And this is the reason why I think this feature is so powerful. Anytime you're looking at something within Netdata and you want to get a summarized report of it, it's always instantly available. To get started with this report, what I'll do is give it some additional information, maybe some relevant information that happened recently. So what I'll do is ask it a simple question, and randomly I'm just going to ask Netdata if there's anything in my logs that might be important. So what I'll do is click this green button right here to begin generating the report. Now in this case it's asking me for more particular information. So what I'm going to do is ask for security incidents. We should always stay on top of security. So what I'll do is type that right here. And I'm not looking for anything in particular, so what I'll do is literally type that. So I'll send that response. And then for this, I'm going to type all infrastructure. And that should be it. The report will now be generated, and once it's done, I'll show you what it looks like. And it looks like the report is finished. We see it right here, so I'll click on it. And this is really cool. It's given me an overall status of my security health. As you can see right here, it's telling me that my security posture is robust, which is really cool. It's giving me information about CrowdSec. My risk level is telling me that it's currently low. We have a threat protection analysis. That's really, really cool. Anomaly detection results, and all kinds of information that I could use when it comes to my overall security posture. And this is yet another example of how useful Netdata's AI happens to be. Throughout the video so far, you've seen some examples of how Netdata AI can help you out. Now what I wanted to do is go over some highlights of Netdata's AI roadmap, so that way you can get an idea of the features that are coming. And the first of these is that Netdata will soon be receiving additional features to make alerts even more meaningful by helping resolve alert fatigue. If you've never heard of that term before, alert fatigue occurs when alerts within any monitoring solution are overly noisy. And this can cause an administrator to not take something seriously if they're constantly being spammed by alerts. Now obviously it's important to configure monitoring systems in a way that administrators are only notified about the things that actually deserve their attention, which is a lot better than having them see alerts for unimportant events. Netdata's AI will soon be expanded to include features that will enable it to look through your alerts and make sure they're configured properly, and offer suggestions on what you can improve. Another improvement coming soon is that Netdata will be able to connect to other apps that you might use to gain additional context, such as apps like GitHub, Jira, PagerDuty, and more. This means that Netdata AI will be able to take additional data points into consideration, such as being able to determine if an active alert is responsible for a Jira issue that was raised, complications stemming from changes made to software repositories, and so on. As Netdata's AI gains additional context abilities, it'll be able to provide you with an even bigger picture than it already does. Continuing, another new feature coming to Netdata AI is proactive mode, which you can set up to run in the background, and what it'll do is message you via Slack, Teams, or whatever messaging service you happen to be using whenever it finds something of interest. That way, you'll receive a message via your chosen messaging service anytime it finds something that you need to pay attention to. And there you go. In today's video, we took a look at Netdata AI and how it helps make Netdata more useful than it already was. And that's great because being a sysadmin is a very complicated job. There's all kinds of things that we need to keep track of. We need to patch our servers, monitor performance, diagnose and troubleshoot issues. There's all kinds of things that we need to do as sysadmins, and now we have a helping hand, and that's awesome. But there's also other AI features to discover within Netdata, and more is coming soon. But even with Netdata implementing a ton of AI features, it's not the same as when other companies do it. AI within Netdata is designed to complement its feature set, and it's never forced on you, and I think that's very important. Perhaps my favorite of the new features is the Troubleshoot button. I think it's really awesome to simply give it a click and get all kinds of information regarding what I'm looking at or whatever I might be dealing with. Again, it's always a great thing to have a helping hand, and anything that can make us more efficient as sysadmins is definitely welcome. And for those of you that haven't checked out Netdata yet, you can sign up for a free account and you'll be able to test out all of the AI features that I've mentioned with your trial. If you do already have a Netdata account, you'll see a banner soon to join the waitlist, and then later, Netdata will give you another free trial to test out these features for yourself. Also, those of you that already have a Netdata account will gain access to 10 troubleshooting sessions a month, and you can always add more if you need to. You should definitely give it a try. Netdata is awesome. And yes, they did sponsor this video, but Netdata is something that I actually use within my infrastructure, and I recommend it personally. And with the new AI features, it might just change how you troubleshoot forever. Anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. And also, click that like button to let YouTube know if this video has helped you out. And definitely subscribe to Learn Linux TV for the latest in Linux. I have all kinds of new Linux-related videos coming very soon to this channel that I can't wait for you guys to see. And with all that said, thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.